Okay, let's get going. So today's session is inspired by um, one of the things I get to do professionally is I do some coaching. So I call it life skills coaching with folks. I had this great session this morning, someone I've been working with for a while, and just was really inspirational. And the theme that came up, um, this grizzly bear came up, and the 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 idea that surfaced was how much of our, or in this case, this person that I'm working with, how much of his anxiety and his depression has to do with some degree of sort of going through life with a sense of apologizing for being the way he is, or having, having certain, like, how much of the anxiety that we carry with us has to do with some sense of, oh, there's something wrong with me. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't be thinking these things. I should be different than I am. And for me, when I hear that, the reason I'm showing this grizzly bear here is I love grizzly bears, and there's this sense that when I see them, um, I mean, they live it's a rough life for a grizzly bear. And when you see these pictures of these bears that, they're missing a tooth and their ears all messed up and ripped up, and to me, I feel this sense of inspiration of, like, oh my gosh, this bear has just really been living life full on. There's no choice, for a bear other than to live life what I would call completely unapologetically. And so the theme that came up is, gosh, what would it take for us to live our lives truly unapologetically? Like, we are who we are, and I have some hopefully some cool facts here to sort of reinforce this case. So planet Earth has, it's been floating around the sun for about 4 billion years. There have been five mass extinctions that we know of, meaning about 80+% of the Earth's biota disappeared for whatever reason, and that's happened five times over these 4 billion years. The last one was the dinosaurs. That happened about 66 million years ago, and we, Homo sapiens, emerged relatively recently. So we're about 300,000 years old. So that's a pretty, right? So even after the dinosaurs disappeared, even though they were around for hundreds of millions of years, it took quite a while for us humans to emerge on the scene. And at present, there are about 8 billion humans on planet Earth. But over these 300,000 years, there's only been about 100 billion humans that have ever existed. Um, and so the reason I'm putting all this stuff on the table is just to say, and then we zero in on this phone call, this, call that we're having right here, right now. And all of us are literally the culmination of, millions of years of evolution. And here we are. And then you find yourself in this bizarre situation where you're feeling insecure or anxious or apologetic for wanting things to be this way or that way, and worrying about whether or not other people are going to approve, or I don't know, that, like, for me, sort of trying to view my existence and our existence and who we are in this moment in time in this grand context. Just my goal is to drop into a place of just giving ourselves a whole lot more permission to just be who we are, and appreciate that it's a pretty miraculous thing that we're even here to begin with. And how much time are we wasting, but how much time are we spending on worrying about all kinds of things that at the end of the day probably don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, so that's the intention of today's meditation. Let's see how this goes. So close your eyes. And in the spirit of this setup that I just created here, is notice how, as you're sitting and noticing your body breathing, just take a moment and appreciate that this body that you inhabit has existed for many years already. Think of all of the factors that came into play to enable you to actually be here right now, to breathe, think, to be conscious. There's so many things that could have gone left instead of right that would have precluded us from being here in this moment. Accidents, illness, fertility, history. And yet here we are. And each one of us represents a kind of flavor or certain form of this thing called being human. And it's unique. So just taking a moment to appreciate the uniqueness, and that can be times I think a mixed bag. Sometimes I wish I were less unique and more like everyone else. And that of course is a that's sort of a kind of mythology or fantasy, because everyone else is completely different than I probably think they are. So just taking a moment to appreciate this unique flavor that is you, the way you look, the way you feel, the way you think. And there's clearly some cosmic reason as to why being here in the way that you are right now is important and makes sense. It's like I said earlier, there's so many reasons why we shouldn't be here. And yet here we are in this body, with this mind, with this brain, this time in history, in this geographical location right here, right now. Is really feeling into how amazing that is, that we get to do this, that we get to be who we are. I don't know why we are who we are, but here it is. And now what? What do we do with this? What do we do with this awesome body, beautiful mind, big open heart, these ideas? Just appreciating those scared, vulnerable parts of us that keep us small or keep us in a certain place where we go through life with our head down, kind of apologizing. We should be different or we should be something else than we are. And instead, just realizing that who we are right now at this time is truly a miracle. What would it be like to go through life unapologetically? It's really owning this. Just appreciating the many things that are aligned to make this all work for us. Community, our biology, our neurology, all of the technology. It's all there to help us be this really unique, distinct flavor that is us. And we get to live this life for a few precious years. And would it be like to just really lean into it fully, stop apologizing for not being something else? Take a deep breath in, long, slow exhale, relaxing the belly and the hands, and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In through the nose, mouth. Again, relaxing the belly, the hands, the neck, shoulders. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open your eyes. Come on back. Yeah, that's all I got. That was my attempt at awesomeness Wednesdays. So hope that landed, and I hope you have an awesome day.